Okay, now I want you guys to look at page 5 in your book of fun. We're going to look at Lewis dot structures, but with covalent compounds. Remember, the difference between covalent compounds and ionic compounds is ionics give or take, whereas covalent compounds, they share electrons. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do is look at our compound. We have chlorine, we have sulfur, and we have another chlorine. First thing I want to do is determine the total number of valence electrons. So here's how we're going to do this. I have 2 chlorine atoms. Each of those chlorine atoms have 7 valence electrons. And then I have 1 sulfur, and each of those sulfur atoms have 6 valence electrons. So my total number of valence electrons should be, I have 14 here, plus 6 should be 20 electrons. The reason why I'm doing this is a nice way for us to double check our work in the end. Okay, so sulfur's going in the center, chlorine's going over here, chlorine's going in here. I kind of gave you a general outline of how you're going to draw these. So the first thing I'm going to do is I know chlorine and sulfur each are bonded together. Okay, so those lines right there represent 2 electrons. Okay, so right now I have 2 electrons in this bond. I have 2 electrons in this bond. Just like before, everybody wants to have 8 electrons around it. So now I'm going to throw 8 electrons around my chlorine. So right now I have 2, 4, 6, 8. In this chlorine, I'm going to throw my 8. You'll see that I have 2, 4, 6, 8. So now my chlorines are perfectly happy, but what about my sulfur? He technically only has 2 here and 2 here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw 2 lone pairs up there and up there. And now this chlorine atom has 8 electrons around it. This chlorine atom has 8 electrons around it. And this sulfur has 8 electrons around it. Notice how my circles do overlap. That's because those overlap circles are my sharing electrons. Now here comes the important part. You need to make sure that you have a total of 20 electrons shown. So we're going to count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. If you have more or less, then you drew your structure wrong. But since I have 20 and that's what we need, we're good to go. I'm going to do one more with you guys. So we have arsenic in the center. Oh, first we got to determine our valence electrons. So I have 1 arsenic. Arsenic has 5 valence electrons plus 4 fluorines. Each of those fluorines have 7. So we have 28 plus my 5. Oh, this is one that I accidentally drew wrong again, guys. So here's what we're going to do. This one has a +1 charge. Okay, what does that do? Because it's a +1 charge, do I add an electron or do I take away an electron? I actually take away an electron. So right now, the way that I did it, I had 33 electrons. So I'm going to take away 1 electron to give me a total of 32 valence electrons. The reason why I kind of stopped there is because whenever we count the number of valence electrons, they must be an even number. Okay, electrons come in pairs. So if you come up with an odd number, like I did right there, one, go double check to make sure you have the correct number of valence electrons. Then you did your math correctly. And then double check to make sure there isn't a charge. This one was my bad. I totally forgot to put in your packet that it's a +1 charge. So we're going to put AS in the center and then my 4 fluorines surrounding it. And we're going to bond them up right away. And you will notice right away, AS in the center, it has 8 valence electrons already around them. So now let's fill up my fluorines. He now has 8. He has 8. He's going to have 8, and he has 8. So now everybody has 8 valence electrons. Let's double check to make sure we got my 32. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32. We're good to go. I'm going to do one more with you. Silicon and 4 hydrogens. Okay, so I have 1 silicon. That silicon has 4 electrons. I have 4 hydrogens. That has 1. So I should have a total of 8 electrons. So I have Si, and then I have my 4 hydrogens all around it. So here's the one thing that you want to remember. Everyone wants to have 8 electrons around him. Okay, so again, the magic number is 8. However, if we look at the one that I just drew, I have 8 valence electrons right now. Silicon is happy. I can't add anymore because I only have 8 electrons to work with. Hydrogen is my exception. Hydrogen, except hydrogen, he only wants 2 electrons. So if I look back at my picture, you will notice that he is perfectly happy the way that he is right now. So what I want you guys to work on now is pages 6 and 7 in your book of fun.